Hi. So I'm going to start off with a guessing game where I'll give you three hints and you need to guess what my favorite part of the brain is. It's part of the limbic system. It loves the letter H, referring to homeostasis and hormones. And finally, its best friend is the pituitary gland. So put your guess in because my favorite part of the brain is the hypothalamus. Oh, yeah. All right, so what on earth is the hypothalamus? Hank Green is going to give a bit of an overview before we get into it.
Its hypothalamus keeps your whole body steady, regulating body temperature, circadian rhythms, and hunger. Also helps govern the endocrine system, especially the pituitary gland. You should also thank your hypothalamus for allowing you to feel pleasure and reward. Rats implanted with electrodes in the reward center of their hypothalamuses and given ways to self-stimulate those areas will essentially reward themselves until they collapse or die. So use with caution.
So, use with caution indeed. Did you catch all of that? It's okay if you didn't. I'm here to explain it in further detail. Um, the hypothalamus is part of the limbic system, which is located deep within the brain. It's about the size of an almond. It's really not that big. Additionally, located in the diencephalon. And it's the main link between the endocrine system and the nervous system. Its main job is to keep the body balanced in a stable state, which is called homeostasis. So, how does it do all of these things? Okay. Well, the hypothalamus receives chemical messages from nerve cells in your brain and from nerve cells in the body, the peripheral nervous system, which is also responding to signals outside of the body. Its main function is to react to these messages in order to keep the body in the stable state we call homeostasis. The hypothalamus performs many of its body balancing jobs either by directly influencing the autonomic nervous system or by managing hormones, which are chemical messengers that travel in the bloodstream to another part of the body. And these hormones communicate either with another endocrine gland or with a specific organ. Here is the chemical composition, a picture of the chemical composition of human growth hormone. Just a fun little visual there. Okay, so we talked about how the hypothalamus has a best friend, and that is the pituitary gland. So, what's the dynamic of this relationship? Let's get into it. The pituitary gland is located just above the roof of the mouth, and it's connected to the hypothalamus, serving as a major, major, major source of hormones. And it sends these hormones or signals to the pituitary gland. The hypothalamus sends them to the pituitary gland, which either releases hormones that directly affect a part of your body or sends another signal or hormone to a different gland in the body that then releases its hormone. The pituitary gland sits just below the hypothalamus, as you can see in this diagram here. Uh, and the pituitary gland consists of two lobes, which are called the anterior pituitary and the posterior pituitary. The hypothalamus is connected to and communicates with the anterior lobe through a network of blood vessels, whereas the posterior lobe, the hypothalamus communicates to through use of a tissue called the pituitary stalk. Yes, like a cornstalk or beanstalk. Very interesting name. The hypothalamus sends signals in the form of releasing hormones to tell the anterior and posterior pituitary when to release or secrete its hormones. So, this is a very important dynamic, and it's very important as well that they coexist and work well together. So, besties for life. All right, I've went really in depth about how all these things communicate with each other, the pituitary with the hypothalamus, what it does, its functions, and how they do it. But why is it my favorite? Well, I'm glad you asked. Um, The hormones made by the hypothalamus directly or oh my gosh, indirectly, excuse me, regulate body temperature, sleep and alertness, appetite and body weight, thirst, daily or circadian rhythms, blood pressure and heart rate, as well as sex drive. And another thing, so it just has all of these things. I love my sleep. Might get a little awkward talking about, sex and all that, but we're only human, right? So this is kind of why it's my favorite. And in addition to this, it releases hormones, oxytocin and dopamine. Oxytocin is often referred to as the love hormone, largely because it increases when you hug someone, kiss someone, have an orgasm, those kind of things. And it's also associated with social bonding, such as the bond between a mother and their child. Oxytocin additionally assists in the birthing process because it stimulates uterine muscle contraction, and it also assists in lactation, which is the release of breast milk. It's made in the hypothalamus and transported to the back part or posterior of the pituitary gland, where it is stored until needed. Dopamine is often referred to as the feel good hormone because it gives you a sense of pleasure as well as the motivation to do something when you are feeling pleasure. So I just think these things are very interesting, and without them, how are we going to get our pleasure? It's basic human experience, and without it, you wouldn't be able to really connect with your loved ones, have social connections, and, overall feel pleasure. So it's very, very important in that respect. All right, so to finish off, I am just showing a diagram here of the hypothalamus and its connection with the pituitary gland so you can see it better here. And again, anterior pituitary, posterior pituitary. Looks a little silly, you know, but that's all good. And you really don't want your hypothalamus to be injured or your pituitary gland have any tumors on that because it can cause some serious health consequences. And this diagram lists fatigue, weight gain, and memory loss as a couple. But there are many, many more adverse situations that can happen and complications from damage to the hypothalamus. So, yeah, just really expressing its importance. Thank you.